It's a matter of great pleasure for us that we are discussing a subject which is most relevant not only to India but to the entire global community. Environmental concerns have been raised by many countries, and India and other countries have been promising to take all possible steps to check pollution, to see that sustainable development can take place. Even the United Nations have gone a long way in this direction. Before I invite the speakers to speak on the subject, let me tell you what Capital Foundation is and what Council for Green Revolution is. Capital Foundation Society was formed in 1987 but had been functioning even before that, and we have been organizing debates on policy issues. We have done more than 350 during all these years. One basic feature of the Capital Foundation was that there were only two places in this country where all parties could come and sit together. One was Lok Sabha, the other was Capital Foundation. Because at one time, the Janasangh and the CPM would never come together. But when we used to organize, we used to have representatives from all political parties and all shades to come and freely speak on issues of public concern. In 1996, we introduced Capital Foundation annual lectures. And since then, we have been consistently doing it every year. I need not say that there was a time when more than 100 newspapers used to write what was happening in Capital Foundation, because most of the leaders used to come. Nowadays, that has gone off. Reason? Too many media channels, too many things, and an event takes place in the morning, and by the evening it is reported in all YouTube's TV channels, one or the other. And nobody wants to listen to all what is being said, because they all are familiar with what the subject is. That is what the Capital Foundation. I am very grateful. For last 6 years, we have had almost 10 Chief Justices of India who have come and spoken. And we have also introduced for our distinguished members Capital Foundation Awards. We have also been giving Lifetime Achievement Award to those who have been outstanding in their field. And if you look at the list of those people, they have been somehow all deserving Bharat Ratnas. Be it Fali Nariman, be it K.K. Venugopal, be it Parasaran, be it Professor Purushottam Reddy, be it any other name for that matter, Venkaiah Naidu, Hamid Ansari, the others who have spoken at this forum. Now, the Council for Green Revolution has been a champion on the cause of spread of green ideas. Professor Mr. K. Lakshma Reddy is the chairman of Council for Green Revolution, a man who has an extraordinary achievements to his credit. He has been a man who started with his wife how to bring in children, school children, at the age of 5, 6, 7 to understand what the meaning of environment is. They used to celebrate the birthday of each child in a school by saying you plant a tree and then all your life till you are in school, you take care of this. This is how the concern for environment was raised. Mr. and Mrs. Reddy have done, Mrs. Lakshma Reddy is another champion on this cause. Welcome, Professor Kumar. So it has been something remarkable. The Council for Green Revolution has been doing not only publications but creating an awareness all over India in different universities, in different schools, different colleges. And today we are very privileged that we have the environmental experts all under the patronage of Council for Green Revolution. In fact, my contact with Mr. Reddy was when Mr. and Mrs. Reddy got the Capital Foundation Award about 8 years back for outstanding work in the field of environment. I am very pleased that he is amidst us and he would propose a welcome address to all of you. We have Professor Purushottam Reddy. Professor Purushottam Reddy needs no introduction to this audience. He has been a champion of environment. He was a professor, head of political science in the Osmania University, one of the veterans there. He taught journalism, he taught to all his students values, how to preserve democracy and how to take care of human rights. Whenever you meet a senior journalist here, he had been once or other time been associated with him. It is our very great privilege that he has agreed to deliver the keynote address as one of the renowned environmentalists. Professor Purushottam Reddy has also been the executive president of the Capital Foundation. In fact, he was very reluctant to say this, but we said, no, we will be privileged if you join us. And it is he who has given us blessings to us. We have decided to institute an award every year or on alternate years in the field of environment and sustainable development on the name of Professor Purushottam Reddy. He is not only a recipient of Capital Foundation Award, but the Governor of West Bengal honored him with the Lifetime Achievement Award last year. We are very privileged that Mr. Purushottam Reddy is with us. Mr. Narasimha Reddy has been a veteran expert in variety of fields. I was just listening a conversation between him and one of his old classmates that how he was in Hyderabad University a secretary of the Students' Union. His research has been on nuclear sciences, but his lectures have been on variety of fields. Particularly, I see him regularly on several YouTube channels educating, enlightening people on the basic public issue concerns. He is one of the best speakers on public causes. Well, we are always in error while introducing. I just forgot to introduce the most towering personality of this audience, Justice A.K. Patnaik. Justice A.K. Patnaik is a former judge of the Supreme Court. He has been the Chief Justice of Chhattisgarh High Court. He had been the Chief Justice of Madhya Pradesh High Court. And when he was the judge of the Supreme Court before retirement, I approached him that, sir, kindly accept to be the chairman of Capital Foundation. We are very privileged, very thankful that he conceded to our request and he is the chairman of Capital Foundation. Justice Patnaik needs no introduction. You just look at the Google and then you find all the journals which I read, they say the judges of Supreme Court on this side or that side can be predicted or have partisans or have sought favors, but Justice Patnaik is one whose name is most acceptable in the legal world as a most honest, straightforward and an academic judge. We are very glad that he will preside over this meeting. Now I invite Mr. Narasimha Reddy to propose a welcome address. We release this after the address?
Yeah, after the welcome. Chief guest of today's function, Justice A.K. Patnaik ji, President, Capital Foundation Society, our beloved Professor K. Purushottam Reddy, an eminent environmentalist, and Dr. Vinod Sethi, Capital Foundation Society, Dr. Narasimha Reddy, public policy expert, all the dignitaries of the dais and on the dais of the dais, all the participant and media, good afternoon. It is great pleasure and privilege for me to welcome you this occasion. I feel this gathering is a significant milestone in our collective journey towards sustainable future. This is an occasion to push forward environmental protection as a national priority. It is possible through responsible stewardship and a big shift in policy and direction. I would like to say that the Green Manifesto is not just document of ideas, it is a commitment to call to action towards a greener future. It is blueprint for positive change, a shared vision for harmony between human being and nature. Council for Green Revolution has been working environmental causes such as nature conservation, eco restoration, climate change, climate action, sustainable development goals, environmental education, and earth leadership for the last 14 years. CGR facilitated plantation 3.6 million saplings through 11 lakhs government high school children, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh state. The organization published Eastern Ghats Environment Outlook book was released by Sri Pranab Mukherjee 2019. We have established the Earth Center institution near Hyderabad, promote environmental leadership. We are working on the climate action and organized the conference of people parallel to COP summit for the last 3 years. At the same time, CGR has been working for policy and attention in the country in wholesome environment and more sustainable future. I feel that environmental society is also national society. We are witnessing the pollution crisis in Delhi from the common man to the leaders of nation here and prone to toxic air all over India. We came across many challenges and we have experienced the impacts of the climate change, the common and future for the nation. Nation is in a stake. We all know the political will can we have wider and deeper impact on the future of the world and nations. Hence, with great faith, we are placing our aspirations before the political leadership and a sustainable future. We are grateful to Sri A.K. Patnaik ji for this concern and pursuance to the release of this Green Manifesto today. We are always grateful to Professor Purushottam Reddy, who is behind the idea and concerned guidance and consistency for a keynote address. I have specially mentioned Dr. Donti Narasimha Reddy for organizing consultations and drafting the document, and Vinod Sethi from the Capital Foundation has been great support for this initiative. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the individuals and organizations and experts who have contributed in this development of the manifesto. I thank People's Resource Center, Delhi, from the collaboration and cooperation in organizing this program. I believe this event will lead to us towards balanced growth. I request you to go through the Green Manifesto and work for the ambitions outlined, it is a request to all political parties integrate the components and document into the manifestos. It is not just national cause, but a cause of Mother Earth. Let us work hand to hand for the well-being future generation. Thank you for wishes. एक बात है हमारा जस्टिस जी, अभी हमारा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन 1 लाख बच्चों को अर्थ लीडर्स बनाना चाह रहे हैं इन फ्यूचर में. अभी ये पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज फिर नो प्रॉब्लम मालूम होने के बाद भी थोड़ा कमिटमेंट उतना नहीं हो रहा, तो इसके लिए हम अर्थ लीडर्स को बना रहे हैं. अभी लास्ट 14 इयर्स वी आर वर्किंग ऑन दिस. अभी लास्ट क्लाइमेट चेंज पे भी जो है क्लाइमेट चेंज का कंटिन्यूअस 11 डेज प्रोग्राम यहाँ डेली रिव्यू करके बता है अभी तक जो है. थैंक यू फॉर योर वेरी मच.
Thank you. Let me welcome Mr. Saskat Patra, Member of Parliament from Biju Janata Dal. I am very grateful that Mr. Patra came from the session and has to go back. And we Tarush, will you just try and conference back? Mr. Patra is not only a member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, but has been one of the very active members and is on the Vice Chairman's panel in the Rajya Sabha. He has been a votary of sports. Several reforms in Odisha government have been because of his initiatives. If you look at the Google, you will find about 10 pages on him. Since he has to go back, I would request Professor Justice Patnaik to release the manifesto, that is Green Manifesto. And Mr. Sattarlal.
Before I release, just yesterday, Mr. Patro has been awarded Parliamentary Award.
So a big applause, friends, for our now we request Justice A.K. Patnaik, our respected judge and the chairman of the Capital Foundation Society of India. He has been our inspiration, and we request him to release the Green Manifesto. This is basically intended to guide all Indian political parties, all students, the youth of India towards the goal of sustainability. Small request, sir. We wish to, CGR wishes to submit this to our chairman,
Very good.
Justice Patnaik. It's a copy of
A
the
book
Eastern
on
Ghats.
Eastern Ghats, which was released by Dr. Pranab Mukherjee. The copy is being presented to the chairman. Now may I request Dr. Saskat Patra, without losing time.
Sir. Actually, I should come in.
Namaskar to everyone. A warm good evening to all the esteemed dignitaries present at this wonderful occasion. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge thanks and greetings to our very respected jurist, former judge of the Supreme Court, Justice A.K. Patnaik. Let's hear a round of applause for him. We have Professor Purushottam Reddy Garu. We have our dear secretary who has been a pillar of inspiration for Capital Foundation and beyond, Mr. Vinod Sethi. We have esteemed Mr. Reddy and his colleague. And we have many distinguished guests here. I'll not take much of your time. It's indeed a privilege and a pleasure to be amongst you this evening. And I want to thank the Capital Foundation Society, Justice Patnaik and Dr. Sethi for inviting me for this Green Manifesto release. And I congratulate the Council for Green Revolution Hyderabad for coming up with this Green Manifesto 2024, a direction for political parties, and it will be instrumental in transforming India. I come from Biju Janata Dal, and our Honorable Chief Minister Shri Naveen Patnaik ji has been driving the transformation of the state of Odisha over the last 24 years. Let me start with a very small anecdote or story about Odisha seen from the eyes of Shri Naveen Patnaik ji. It's a story, so I'm not going to be very serious initially. Probably later I'll come on to the serious stuff. But this is very impactful because it's a story of transformation. There are many youngsters here. Were you born in 1999?
Yes.
You were? Must be very small. In 1999, Odisha suffered a super cyclone. About 10,000 people lost their lives, were washed into the sea. 13 districts were washed off. I was in college, and at the time it took us a month and a half in Bhubaneswar city to actually have electricity. That was the situation. There was not enough room to find out who had passed away and who had been washed away into the sea. At that point of time in 1999, we had Sri Naveen Patnaik ji. He was then not the Chief Minister. He was the Union Minister, Steel and Mines in the Vajpayee ji's government. And Biju Patnaik ji's house, where Sri Naveen Patnaik ji stays today, Naveen Niwas, it overlooks the airport of Bhubaneswar. Nowadays, of course, trees have mushroomed around it, but in 1999, after the cyclone, many of the trees gone, it had come to a situation that if you sat on the terrace of Naveen Niwas, then you could see the Bhubaneswar airport. 1999, things were washed off. Large aircraft started landing into Bhubaneswar. You would say, doing what? They were carrying old clothes, old blankets. For whom? For those people who had lost everything. They didn't have enough. So therefore, people from across the world, across country, were sending old clothes and blankets in aircraft. That's one picture. Hold that picture. Then comes year 2020, COVID. Aircrafts similarly land into Bhubaneswar airport. And out of those aircrafts come out large oxygen empty tankers, large tankers. They rush to these industrial plants that are there in Odisha to collect oxygen. As you know, steel plants have their own captive oxygen generation plants. They run to these oxygen plants, collect oxygen under police escort, run back into the airports, get onto those flights and go across 17 states to provide life-saving oxygen. Same airport, same flights, but the transformation is so stark. Old clothes to life-saving oxygen, from receivers to givers. This is your Odisha today. That is what I want you to understand. This transformation over the last 24 years has been real, has been actual, that we have been able to pull out 25% of the population of Odisha out of poverty. People used to talk about Odisha one time and say, and I'll come to Green Manifesto, but used to say one time, ha ha, jahan bhukmari hai. जहां खाने को नहीं मिलता. The darkness of Kalahandi was something that the country was in, which led to then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi to go there and then remark, I send 1 rupee, but only 15 paisa reaches the people. That place which used to be known for selling of children in the mid-80s. Today, the transformation of Odisha is real because we have been able to become the third largest contributor of rice to the public distribution system of this country. That's the transformation. Now, why am I giving you this? You would say it's a Green Manifesto. Why are you telling us these stories? Are they related to Green Manifesto? Disaster management. Usually, we rise and wake after a disaster. Odisha is rising and waking before a disaster. That is where Green Manifesto comes in. What we have been trying to build are green towns, green cities, green suburbs, and green coastline. So that we can reduce the impact of tidal waves, so that we can reduce the impact of the winds that come on a cyclone. Over the last 100 years, ladies and gentlemen, Odisha has suffered 99 cyclones. And every time we suffer a cyclone, it sets us back by 15 to 20,000 crores. Roads get washed off. Houses get washed off. Livestock perishes. But Sri Naveen Patnaik ji has believed in one vision, zero casualty. Disaster mitigation and disaster adaptation. And that is why when filing hit in 2012, not a single life was lost, and the United Nations Development Program felicitated Naveen Patnaik ji, saying, here is a model for the world how to handle disaster management. So therefore, today, when we release this Green Manifesto 2024, a direction for political parties by the Council for Green Revolution, it truly is a revolution. Why? Because this is the way forward. There was a green revolution, there was a white revolution, we are talking about a blue revolution, but I believe this Green Manifesto will be the true revolution. Why? Because it is going to hold people accountable to what they say to the voters. And that is crucial. That today, if you want to say, I'll just give you one statistic, I'll not burden you with law. According to the India State of Forest Report 2021, you can Google it, the Forest Survey of India, Odisha, the state of Odisha, between 2019 to 2021, only within a period of 2 years, added 537 square kilometers of forest cover. It's on record. So for a state, when states are depleting in forest, many times people say, oh, you are into mining, you are into this, forest cover must be dwindling. No. While development happens, the commitment to green and clean persists. That is why when it came to cleanliness, Bhubaneswar some years back was awarded as the #1 smart city in the country. And the reason is that we are committed to ensuring our promises to the people, not only from the realms of development, but with a clear understanding, we wanted to link it to green development. Because unless we are green, unless our commitments are towards the green, unless we are protecting the environment, when there is no future, AQI levels reach 700 and 800, what is there to enjoy? Will we become a world full of masks? Or will we become a world that will reduce AQI? And therefore, it is the commitment. I just give you one statistic. We have done several programs. We have done one called as Amar Jungle Yojana, and I'll not burden you with the details of it. I'll request the youngsters to Google it up and see how about 7,001 Sanrakshan Samitis are being entrenched into 30 territorial and wildlife divisions of the state of Odisha in a community participation mode. So therefore, while we promise our people on election manifestos, let this be a guiding light for all political parties. And I thank the Council for Green Revolution for doing what they have been doing to become an inspiration for the political parties to take this as one of the role models in probably being more true to what they say, especially to the voters on the anvil of this election. I thank you. There is an appropriation bill going on right now in Parliament, and Honorable Finance Minister is there. I just rushed out. I wanted to share a few words. Please forgive me for my very obtrusive nature. My apologies to you, but I really wanted to be with you and be a part of this very nice historic moment. Thank you for your time. Such a pleasure. Thank you.
This is the 10 ideologies, the book written by Jayapal.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, wonderful, sir. That's great.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, one more. With the manifesto for the media. Certain things we need to do.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for giving that. Need your blessings always, sir. Sir is a great blessing to me, Justice Patna. Really, great blessing to all of us.
For
Thank
all
you,
of
sir.
us.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you.
We are indeed grateful. Now, may I request Professor Purushottam Reddy to deliver the keynote address. Professor Reddy, as I said, is an institution by himself. Professor Reddy.
Respected Chairperson, Justice A.K. Patnaik, my friend, philosopher and textbook not guide, Dr. Vinod Sethi, Sri Lakshmana Reddy Garu, the President of the CGR, Founder President, my colleague Professor Narasimha Reddy, who is very well known in the people's struggles of India, in different countries, different topics. Here, as far as India is concerned, almost he is connected with every state. And my another friend, Professor Pushpa Kumar Garu, who is Dean of the University of Law, and he is here along with his bright students. So thank you, sir. In view of the shortage of time, I just would touch a few points because Professor Narasimha Reddy will give the gist of the Green Manifesto, so I'm not going into that. But I need to run the show from the time the subject of environment came into being in modern times. However, before that, I want to touch upon the Bhopal gas disaster. 1984, December 3rd. We are now in 2024. So approximately 40 years. This is the 40th year of the Bhopal disaster. And it is appropriate to recollect what went wrong, why the crisis, what needs to be done, have we learned any lessons. So without going into too many technicalities, but I just would like to appreciate an article published by Jamie Castles, a professor of law, University of near Montreal, and the title is The Uncertain Promise of Law, Lessons from Bhopal. I request every law student, all those, I'll give you the references. I request all of you to please connect and you can have a special seminar or a discussion on it because now that our distinguished dean is here. About that particular litigation, why I am telling you this particular episode is that we are committing several mistakes on these lines, and the mistakes continue. So, the author writes about this particular litigation and mentions that there were in all about 6,02,435 claim files which were submitted to the court. Each file about 40 pages, plus medical reports, plus X-ray. You can imagine, 6 lakh files, 40 pages plus all that. The documentation that has been done fills 4 warehouses, and merely bringing the claims document to the court would require an estimated 40 trucks. This is only to illustrate the magnitude of the problem. The Union Carbide Corporation alone has spent 1 billion rupees, approximately 58 million US dollars on litigation. The Bhopal story is replete with ironies and contradictions. I'll just mention a couple of ironies and then move forward. Please remember and recall the sovereign state of India. You know, India is not an ordinary country, a very big country. We the people, by waging India's freedom struggle or India's wonderful struggle for freedom, we provided leadership to all the colonies of the world. Every colony would look towards India for leadership, for guidance, for inspiration. So please understand that we were leaders of the entire, suppressed world or deprived world. So what happened? We got our independence, no doubt, after such a wonderful struggle. But the irony is the sovereign state of India resorts to the courts of a foreign nation to obtain justice for its citizens. The Bhopal case, we went to the US courts. A major multinational corporation whose policy is to maintain, within inverted commas, centralized integrated corporate strategic planning, direction and control, argues that it had no responsibility for its subsidiary, and the Indian courts conclude that the US legal system is incapable of even assuming jurisdiction over an US based corporation, much less providing a remedy to the victims of disaster. So many ironies have taken place after independence. In the name of development, people, this is not the time to go into all the details, but as an outcome of this particular tragedy, in the United States, a toxic release inventory was ordered. To provide that inventory, the US government passed the Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act. Section 313 of the EPCRA created TRI. Recently, there was a very big seminar organized by American EPA, US EPA on this particular subject, and my friend, in fact, like my junior, he presented a paper there, and that's how I come into contact with this. This act empowers all Americans the right to access information in their communities, and this law created toxic release inventory program, encouraging action through information disclosure. Friends, with this I stop the Bhopal episode. The question is, Americans became alerted. After Bhopal, there was another small incident in America where a few people died, whereas in our case, more than 4,000 people died in a matter of 2 hours. And recently there was a film in Netflix, Bhopal Railwaymen. I request everybody to see it to understand the seriousness of the problem. The question is whether we, when I say we, it includes the political system particularly, whether we have learned any lessons. And as people, whether क्या हम कुछ सबक सीखे क्या? वैसे तो हम सुधरने वाले नहीं है. We will be like this because we are the kind of people we are. Anyway, we are very emotional. At times we are very effective, but soon somehow we withdraw. And that behavior like an amoeba is really hurting India. Friends, too many things are going wrong in India. First of all, we have the Himalayas. Definitely they are a blessing for us. There is no doubt. We can't imagine India without Himalayas. But what's happening there? The Himalayas are still, they are described as the latest in the mountain ranges of the entire world. They are very delicate. They have not yet settled down. It is something like a work in progress, and it is still continuing. Now, what are we doing? Our greedy politics, the nexus between the contractors and the engineers and the politicians, they are building hydroelectric projects. In the name of temple tourism, we are building ghat roads. And we are virtually destroying the entire ecosystem there. Actually, the best effort and the best method would be to understand the ecosystem, to really honestly prepare an environmental impact assessment, EIA, and then put it before the people. Let there be honest discussion, no question of prestige or anything. Open discussion in the very many habitations that are there in the entire mountain range. Friends, in spite of that, there will be difficulty because India is only one country, one of the several countries which are surrounding Himalayas. Other side we have China, Pakistan, Tibet, Nepal, then Myanmar, Afghanistan, and finally even Bangladesh because it's a stakeholder. So many countries on the other side, even Thailand up to Vietnam, the rivers which originate in Himalayas, they proceed that side. So if we take all the stakeholder countries, let us all come together, all the countries, and then appeal to the UN to constitute a committee of parties and have discussion. And thereafter we can have annual discussions like on the lines of climate change, conference of parties for the restoration of a global common like Himalayas. So severe is the problem. We call it as the Himalayan blunder. By neglecting it, we call it as a blunder because recent events indicate what happened in Sikkim, what happened in Char Dham, in Uttaranchal, in Haryana and Himachal Pradesh, including Delhi. Sometimes we fear that a crisis of the proportions of Himalayas, and moreover, it's an earthquake-prone area. I'm not going into all the details for want of time. This is only to stir up the imagination of political parties. It is time that we have series of roundtables in a very dispassionate manner, without any consideration for prestige for the government or opposition. Forget their leanings and let them come into the discussion table with an open mind. We need to find solutions. For example, this Eastern Ghats report, thanks to the Council for Green Revolution and several activists of Hyderabad, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Orissa, we could come together and we prepared a wonderful report which has been hailed by the world. A copy of which just now we could give to our respected Honorable Justice A.K. Patnaik. Now the question is, I know Orissa government is very particular, they want to protect the Eastern Ghats. AP government is particular, Telangana government, Tamil Nadu, all the state government, they express their willingness to do something. But believe me, not a single state government by itself can do anything. Because the mountain range itself is in about 4 to 5 states, including Karnataka. Now that being the situation, a simple common sense thing tells us that the central government or the government of India should take the responsibility and convene all the states which have a stake in the Eastern Ghats. Similarly for the Western Ghats, right? Similarly for the Vindhyas. I mean Aravalis, all the mountain ranges in India, which where the states are more than in one state. The central government has to take the lead and convene and let there be continuous, a committee, not for a day or a week or so, but a continuously, they need to sit in and constantly watch, because what's happening, I'm telling you honestly, in the case of Eastern Ghats, nobody knows what's happening. The mining ministry gives green signal for uranium mining or some other mining in the eastern, iron ore mining in the Eastern Ghats. And the hydroelectric project people, they have built so many dams in the very many valleys of Eastern Ghats. Deforestation is going on. There is biopiracy. In the name of NGOs, I am very sorry to say that some of the NGOs are in the payrolls of, foreign corporates. And they sell away valuable, biodiversity, the genes, the real genes of this country, which the Adivasis, they were protecting for so many years. So there is theft. There are so many things which need to be corrected, but they are not happening. So this is only illustrative. Coming to the rivers that flow through so many states, the Ganges, even part of the rivers that flow into Indus, the Brahmaputra, the Godavari and Krishna and Pennar. They pass through so many rivers. And some state political parties, they want to make politics out of it. Recently there was a case study in Nagarjuna Sagar, where the Andhra Pradesh police and Telangana police, they came onto the, what we call dam, and literally they would have shot each other. Where are we heading? Andhra Pradesh police and Telangana police fighting over the issue of water on the dam site. Believe me, friends, there are attempts to divide this country in the name of so many considerations, but even in the name of water, if that situation should not arise, the government of India should wake up and set up a comprehensive board for every river, because pollution, suppose Hyderabad, river Musi is totally polluted, it joins river Krishna, then the people downstream of river Krishna from that particular point, they will suffer. It's, it's time we all came together, we should come together, and we should express our willingness to play a very important role. The Green Manifesto is suggestive. The youngsters and let there be discussion in every political party, in every university, college, in every Gram Panchayat in this country. They are free to come add to it. They are free to do it. But when one word regarding panchayats, sir, there is one, as you know, sir. Local government, the power to regulate local governments is in the state list. Actually, that was not the original intention of 73rd and 74th Amendment. Unfortunately, those days, because the ruling parties did not have majority in the Rajya Sabha, and P.V. Narasimha Rao, he did not have majority even in the Lok Sabha. But then to ensure that these two bills get the majority, he did not disturb that particular position, entry 5 of the state list, which talks about local governments. If only that particular power was transferred from the state list to the concurrent list, as was done on other issues during Mrs. Indira Gandhi time, the local governments in this country would have been on their own. Today their position is horrible. You take any state in this country, the state governments are ruthlessly suppressing the local government. I'll give you one example of Hyderabad, from where I come. the city of Hyderabad has 150 municipal corporators. We have they elect a mayor, a deputy mayor and all that. To that extent, fine. You know, they can't appoint their own municipal commissioner. They can't appoint a person to control pollution. The member secretary of the State Pollution Control Board is appointed by the state. And we don't have, why not have a separate board for the major cities, for Delhi, for all the major cities of India? Not only that, the municipal corporation cannot control education, health, nothing is in their hands. Even, except to sweep the roads and to collect the garbage. That is the only real good power that is there. Beyond that, there is hardly anything. What's happening? They decide everything, where a flyover should come. There is hardly any place for direct democracy. What committees they say, but what committees are totally dysfunctional. And what is worse is, our Prime Minister talked about India being the mother of parliament. Okay. And in Tamil Nadu, several temples, on the walls and the pillars. In fact, there is virtually a new constitution, a constitution for the local bodies. Fine. We should draw inspiration from them. But we should allow the Gram Panchayats to really breathe. I'm using that word, in the context of a black American being choked to death by a white police. Allow me to breathe, that's what he was saying. And unfortunately he died. That is exactly the position of the Gram Panchayats in this country. In spite of 73rd, 74th Amendment, if India needs to be strong, all the municipal corporations and all the Gram Panchayats, a real good local government, they should be allowed to function, because otherwise, we always think federalism means division of power between center and states. But let us also go to the third tier, that is local government. Friends, just a reference to the global picture and I stop. The whole world knows about how serious is the problem the planet Earth is facing. There are 5 major issues which everybody knows, but still on this occasion. The first one is the depletion of the ozone layer. Second is global warming. Third is the loss of biodiversity. Fourth is desertification or desertization. It revolves around the availability of water. And the fifth is the danger posed by nuclear reactors and nuclear bombs. But in addition to these 5, there is a bigger problem. And that bigger problem is how to organize development. For this, the World Commission, WCED report, World Commission on Environment and Development, popularly known as, for all the youngsters, it's known as the Brundtland Commission. That commission very clearly says that it is the duty of every government in the entire world to understand the rising aspirations of the teeming millions. It is important, the government should understand what is there in the minds of the people or what is being expressed by them. Take into consideration. In political science parlance, we call it as the demands on the political system. Now the political system should take into consideration all these demands and come up with public policies which are appropriate to both the ecosystem and to the people. And then there should be an impact study done for every policy. For this to happen, every political party must have an R&D, research and development wing within the party. And for the government, there should be a continuous think tank, 24 hours, 24/7, almost every day. The crisis is so big, we need to find solutions. There is no point in calling, whether it is India or Bharat, all the same. Yes, it is our country, we need to find solutions. We need to work to make a better India or better Bharat, because the stakes are very high. We are not the last generation to live on this planet Earth. Life has to continue. We are accountable to the coming generations. That is why, thanks to my CTR, and the very many stalwarts who are working there. Thanks to Narasimha Reddy garu and so many others. They have taken a lot of pains to produce what is known as, what is being released just now, Green Manifesto 2024. I hope this will play a major role in the greening of Indian political parties. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you, Professor Reddy. Now I invite another expert on environment, Mr. Narasimha Reddy. Yes.
Eminent persons of the dais and ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to everyone. As part of this activity on Green Manifesto, for the past 5-6 years we have been working, holding consultations across the country, and we have been debating with various stakeholders. तो हम पिछले 3-4 महीने में भी हैदराबाद में, चेन्नई में, विजयवाड़ा में और यहाँ पर दिल्ली में भी ये एक कंसल्टेशन वर्कशॉप्स किए थे, और कल भी मैं यहाँ पर वेंकटेश्वरा कॉलेज में भी स्टूडेंट्स के साथ इसी के ऊपर हमारा बातचीत हुआ। तो ये पहला, जैसा डॉक्टर सस्मित पात्रा बात कर रहे थे, आज जो पूरा वर्ल्ड में जो डिसास्टर्स बढ़ते जा रहे हैं, अब यह डिसास्टर का मूल कारण है प्रदूषण। जो कार्बन एमिशंस है, ये कार्बन एमिशन से प्रदूषण हवा में बढ़ रहा है। अब ये प्रदूषण के जरिए हमारा भूगोल का जो तापमान है वो बढ़ते जा रहा है। वो तापमान बढ़ने से हमारा क्लाइमेट पूरा प्रॉब्लम में पड़ गया। तो ये इसको हिंदी में जलवायु परिवर्तन बोले, क्लाइमेट चेंज इज जलवायु परिवर्तन। तेलुगु में वातावरण मार्पु बोलते हम। So this, I think we need to understand this very clearly. But as जैसा प्रोफेसर पुरुषोत्तम रेड्डी जी बताए, 1992 में वर्ल्ड समिट जहाँ हुआ, अर्थ समिट, उसी टाइम पे बताया गया कि हम इस रास्ते में जा रहे हैं, ये गलत रास्ता है। इसको रोकने का जो मार्ग है वो है पॉलिटिकल विल। सो ऑल द गवर्नमेंट्स एंड द गवर्नमेंट्स run by political parties, they need to come up with political commitments. And even today, in the last 3-4 years, international panel on climate change, intergovernmental panel on climate change, has been repeatedly giving reports specifically marked to policy makers. उनका जो रिपोर्ट में समरी फॉर पॉलिसी मेकर बना है। दैट मीन्स वॉट एवर साइंटिफिक रिपोर्ट्स आर बीइंग प्रिपेयर्ड, दे अगेन ट्रांसलेट इट इनटू पब्लिक पॉलिसीज and what kind of public decisions need to be taken. That's a kind of summary has been given, I think 6 times so far. And of course, COP, meetings, 28 meetings have happened so far. And in every COP, the first 2 days, leaders from different countries come there. They share their concerns, they share their ideas, they have to share their suggestions or whatever decisions, actions they are taking. So it happened 28 times, but still within the country, not only India, everywhere, even US, Netherlands, France, the decisions have not gone beyond the rhetoric. सिर्फ बातें बनाते जा रहे हैं अभी तक सभी दलों के जो लीडर जो भी है। तो इसलिए हम लोग यहाँ दो बातें, एक तो भारत में जो डिसास्टर हो रहा है पिछले 5 साल से हम लोग देख सकते हैं, लेकिन एक रिपोर्ट है 1995, between 1995 and 2020 there were 1058 natural disasters and among them 33% are floods, and again most of the floods are in Ganga plain, Ganga Yamuna plain, and as Professor Purushottam Reddy mentioned, this is because the Himalayan region, the entire Himalayan ecosystem is under threat, and that is resulting in the floods. And we have seen last year in 2023 हिमाचल प्रदेश में बाढ़ जो आया, फ्लड्स जो आया, उससे बहुत भारी नुकसान हुआ। उत्तराखंड में वैसी हुआ, सिक्किम में भी वही हुआ, और हर राज्य में बाढ़ का समस्या बढ़ता जा रहा है। जहाँ बाढ़ पानी तक का बात नहीं था, आज बाढ़ दिख रहा है, बिकॉज we have heavy rainfall coming out of humidity caused by increased temperature. जैसा तापमान बढ़ते जा रहा है, जैसा उससे ये rainfall भी बढ़ता जा रहा है। So and 2023 has been recorded as the warmest year, and 2024 they said it can become more warmer. So that 1995 to 2020 disaster list, the second biggest disaster is heat wave. 24% deaths have happened because of heat wave across India. And again it happens in many backward regions and regions where mining is rampant, deforestation is rampant, and where we have destroyed the environment to a large extent. And 2024 to heat wave is going to increase. Still, there was someone who went to Supreme Court maybe 6-7 years back, and Supreme Court had to call all the chief secretaries to prepare heat wave action plans. They did not do. Then the Supreme Court summoned all of them and threatened them. Only then they prepared heat wave action plans, but again there is no implementation. So this year we are going to see more heat wave, more heat, but still none of the leaders, none of the political parties, none of the governments are recognizing this as a potential problem which can impact people. एक यूएन रिपोर्ट है, उसमें बताया गया कि पिछले 30 साल में because of natural disaster in India 1.3 lakh people have died. Many more families have been displaced. Last 5 years 25 lakh people have been internally displaced. That means they have to shift from this place to other place within India. So the internal displacement is also a major problem. So natural disasters, climate change, Paryavan Pradushan is increasingly impacting poor people and large number of people. But still, and yet, none of the political parties have put this on their manifesto or on the agenda. अब दूसरी बात है, who is taking decisions? Who is taking decisions in India? Not Parliament. If you look at just in the last 6 months, what kind of decisions they have taken? It's only wrangling over some issue or other. But decisions are happening and they are being thrust from international forum. In Paris agreement in 2015, when Government of India agreed for commitments to reduce its emissions, where was that decision taken? Was it taken in India, in Delhi or in Parliament? Was that ratified in India in Parliament? Even today, after 9 years, I have not seen them discussing that. Even after that, again, Panchamrit has been declared by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Glasgow, Sharm el Sheikh. Even today, Parliament does not discuss. And now, World Health Organization is discussing World Pandemic Accord. They are talking of amendment to international health regulations. Even that is not discussed in Parliament. तो हमारा बारे में हमारा जो भविष्य के लिए जो निर्णय लिया जा रहा है वो यहाँ नहीं हो रहा है. इट इज हैपनिंग इंटरनेशनली. ये हम लोग जानना चाहिए और इसके ऊपर भी हम बात करना चाहिए. Otherwise, it will not work. Now, the third aspect is Pakistan. It was a very big surprise. Yesterday, Pakistan, 4 parties, they have specially mentioned climate change. They have given detailed, what kind of changes they are proposing as part of the climate change in their manifestos. Pakistan is going to elections. उनका election होने जा रहा है. And they agreed on that, or they had to agree because last year and before last year, पाकिस्तान में बहुत बड़ा बाढ़ आया. 1/3 of Pakistan has been affected. And of course, they are going through a severe debt crisis and many problems. And they still, the political parties, they look more modern by, acknowledging the need for responding to climate change and environment destruction which is impacting the people. But we have 3,000 political parties registered with Election Commission of India, and even today, none of the political parties are acknowledging or even mentioning this problem at all. So finally, I think again, people, now what we do, India for us it's important, like sustainable development goals. Now it is green. So we said green manifesto. They think we put just green before manifesto. They do that. So they say green mining, green transport. The same thing, जो करते जा रहे हैं उसको ग्रीन का नाम लगा देके हम ग्रीन बन गए बोल के बोलते हैं. And that can happen, that is happening also. So when we have developed this green manifesto, it's not just about technical fixes like in Delhi, air pollution. Delhi government brings some machine and says we are blowing away the air, polluted air. These are techno fixes which will not work. These are integrated problems. यहाँ राजेंद्र रवि जी बैठे ये पीपल्स रिसोर्स सेंटर they have been working on urban transport and how it is related with land use, it is related with the settlement, it is related with migration, it is related with the growth of Delhi, the path which is being taken. So these are all integrated problems. You need to come up with integrated solutions. Just by replacing manifesto with a green manifesto, solutions do not emerge. So it has to be social, environmental, economic and nature linked comprehensive integrated solutions. Otherwise, it will not work again. So the manifestos have to acknowledge each problem and the background, the basic reason out of which that kind of problem has emerged. As Professor Purushottam Reddy mentioned, पानी का बहुत गहरीला समस्या है, वो बढ़ रहा है, and we have seen here यमुना के बारे में, पंजाब और हरियाणा उत्तर प्रदेश के बीच में जो लड़ाई था वो बढ़ने का आशंका भी है। अब तो हवा के बारे में भी यहाँ शुरू हो गया, तो पंजाब किसान का जिम्मेदारी है या यहाँ का एसयूवी चलाने वाले का जिम्मेदारी है या यहाँ का परिश्रम इंडस्ट्री का जिम्मेदारी है? We are unable to decide what to do, how to do, when to do. So that is where we need debate, we need consultations, we need manifestos. So we are asking for again and again, think of integrated solutions, not just copy and paste solution from international think tanks. You know, they keep coming up with some technological solution and they say this is the answer. Hyderabad metro rail has never been the answer for transport, urban transport issues in India. But urban metro rail has been thrust on all the urban transport authorities. And we are losing, there is opportunity cost. We are spending thousands of crores on that and we are unable to provide basic transport. एक बस खरीदने का क्षमता भी आज एक अर्बन ट्रांसपोर्ट अथॉरिटी के पास नहीं है. That's a shameful situation and we are not thinking about it. So we have to think integrated problems and जो शहरीकरण के बारे में आज हर पॉलिटिकल पार्टी बात कर रहे हैं, हम शहरीकरण करेंगे as if शहरीकरण is the answer to the problems. शहरीकरण is going to take us into more and more problems because शहरीकरण has distorted land use, it has this, all the शहर, all the cities, they are guzzlers of natural resources. Take the example of Delhi. पानी कहाँ से आता है? यहाँ जहाँ जो बारिश करता है एक बूंद भी आप पकड़ नहीं सकते because it's all polluted. पानी बाहर से आता, चावल बाहर से आता, सब्जी बाहर से आता, हर कोई बाहर से आता. यहाँ से बाहर क्या जाता? गंदा पानी and garbage and polluted air और शायद गंदा आदमी भी यहाँ से निकलते बाहर. Every city, I'm just not saying. So cities have today become guzzling centers and they suck natural resources in the surrounding area. But none of the master plans acknowledge it. In fact, master plans have today become instruments of new kind of colonization. They use up the powers of panchayats abutting the city just by one circular, and justice is here. I request him to see why even judiciary does not see this is a violation of 73rd and 74th amendments, where panchayats are given the अधिकार दिया गया कि वो पंचायत खुद का मैनेजमेंट करे. Many cases have been filed, but every case has failed to establish that argument where villages have the right to get included or not get included in a city. ये जो अधिकार है ये कौन छीन ले रहा है? So all the surrounding villages, in the name of National Capital Region, in the urban development region, new colonization, all the villages are brought in and the villages lose control over the resources, but they don't get any allocations for development. जो पहले जो भी था वो लोग मैनेज करते थे. आज एक बड़ा सिटी के अंदर आने के बाद उनका नाले के बारे में पैसे पूछने के लिए 50 किलोमीटर जाना पड़ता है NDMC के हेड ऑफिस के लिए. And by then there are already 1,000 demands on them. So this concentration of power just to facilitate some people to live happily, cozily, luxuriously. I think this cannot happen in a democracy. So Shaharikaran is again a trend in which we need to negate it completely. And finally, I would just like to tell you, ये जो GDP का बात हो रहा है. Now our politicians, now they think they talk about GDP, they have become modern, they have become more educated, or they want to project a star image. GDP means it equals environment destruction, because it is about mining, it is about production where resources are polluted. So GDP equals environment destruction. Can we continue to use this as a measure of development? The sustainable development which Professor Purushottam Reddy keeps telling us, where Grow Harlem Boom, Brundtland has defined, there is no space for GDP. I mean, GDP does not help us in understanding how we can achieve that sustainable development. So we need to change the economic indices which are being used as mapping the development we have achieved. So I think there are many aspects which we have included in this Green Manifesto. We are going to give you a link of this on the website, so you can go through that, you can give your suggestions, and we request you to take this as your own document, go to political parties, go to political leaders, because this is about our future and our children's future. This is going to be a watershed movement for Indian national elections and for Indian democracy. If we are not going to get some of these things into that, I think we will be much more weaker post-elections. So my appeal to is, all of you get engaged with this process. Even if you don't want to take this forward, at least take your idea forward. Work with the political leaders, MPs, and then try to change them to take decisions which are sustainable and which can help India to grow as a world leader in the next 50 years. अमृत काल में हम अमृत जीवन बिताना है तो ग्रीन मैनिफेस्टो चाहिए. Thank you.
Friends, I have been getting messages from these MPs. Late. I think we cannot wait for a long time for them. If they come in the President's address, it's fine. Otherwise, we'll forget about it, because Mr. Prakash Javadekar has just sent a message that he has to speak in Rajya Sabha, so therefore he may not be able to make it, but he will try. Mr. D. Raja said he is coming, but then he didn't give the time if I will be free from my party meeting. Kapil Sibal said that he will definitely be coming, but then I am not getting any response as yet. May I request the chief guest to give his views on this debate?
Good afternoon to all of you. Now let me start with where our previous speaker, Mr. Reddy, sustainable development. Right, you must be hearing it number of times. You have also heard it today number of times. What is the meaning of sustainable development? And how it came about in our environmental jurisprudence. First of all, the core problem of this entire thing that we are discussing Ranjira? Ah. Who's the cause of all these problems in our problems? Human beings. Men are the cause of all these problems. And the increasing population of these human beings because of all these problems. Just imagine a world where there will be a few people and there'll be animals, birds and trees and everything. Will there be carbon emissions? No factories, no industries. Will there be cutting of jungles? Will there be mining? Nothing at all. So human beings are at the core of this environmental. Why? They want to consume. They want to eat. They want to wear clothes. They want to get steel and construct houses, offices. So, consumption by human beings causes exploitation of natural resources. This is the problem. And all this wealth that you see in Europe, in America, it's all because of exploitation of natural resources throughout the world. That is how human beings develop. So what is the solution then? Human beings have to live. What is the solution? That is what exactly was laid down in that report. So what Professor Lee told us, Brundtland report 1987, accepted in Rio Conference, which says of sustainable development. What is sustainable development? Produce just enough for the present generation. Leave enough for the future generation. So that life goes on sustained. Year to year, year to year, year to year. This is called sustainable. Have you followed? Youngsters, समझे नहीं? इतना प्रोड्यूस करो जो हमारा जरूरत है. सब कुछ मत कर लो. अभी सब करके जो माइंड कर रहा है. जितना आयरन ओर है, माइंस पे निकाल के सेल कर दो, पैसा बना दे. If you allow that, then what still will remain for the future generation to construct? So, meaning of sustainable development is your consumption, present consumption, should not be more than what is required. Whether it is wealth, just enough for the present generation. And you have to leave sufficient resources for the future. This we call also equi-generation environmental equity in Supreme Court. Now, having given this introduction, you see, it was Rio Conference, all this international convention. The last speaker, Mr. Reddy, also mentioned international conferences. They were laid down for all international conferences. And thereafter it came into our Indian Constitution as an act that was protected for its protection of environment. Then came the 1986 Environment Protection Act. All result of international conferences. Parliament has brought it. But unfortunately, the Parliament enacted it. The initiative that was taken in environmental legislation was by the Supreme Court. And how did the Supreme Court do it? Where did the Supreme Court get the judicial from it? The Supreme Court said that Article 21 of the Constitution guarantees to every person the right to life. And life is not possible unless there is clean air, clean environment, clean water, oxygen, So, the right to a pollution-free environment is a fundamental right of every person under Article 21. That is how Supreme Court took upon its jurisdiction and started enforcing it. This is how the Supreme Court did it. In fact, the Supreme Court went on developing on this line, MC Mehta case, that case, they did take number of environment matters, but politicians were not showing any interest in that. Though there was a law, not showing interest. And Supreme Court constituted a green bench, of which I was a member presiding for quite some time in the Supreme Court. And green bench job was to ensure that the country's environment is protected. You heard Mr. Patro mentioning about the forest cover of Odisha. It is not because of the government. Mind you, it is not because of the government. He's talking about the Biju Janata. No. He started much earlier. Under the Forest Conservation Act, 1980, there is a provision that you can't cut any trees in any forest. But then development is required. You have to make roads. For that you have to cut the trees. You have to set up an industry. For that you have to cut the trees. So the Supreme Court held, all right, we'll allow development, but if you cut trees in say 1 acre of land, you must fund afforestation of 3 acres, 3 times. NPV, they said that NPV you have to deposit 3 times the forest that you remove. Result is that this money that was deposited was again utilized in afforestation. And that is how forest cover not only in Odisha, forest cover entire country has increased number of times. This is how it's done. It is not that Odisha government has done it. Odisha government has done it because of the law that has been made. But then, how we implement it, for example, this principle of sustainable development. I'll give you 3 examples. While I was in the bench, in Green Bench, there were Karnataka mining, heavy exploitation of iron. So, then there was Goa mining, which I decided. Odisha mining, which I started it, but I could not decide. Here, he said, one of my colleagues was saying, let us stop all this mining. We have 3 judges. It's too bad, we can't tolerate this, let us stop it. So the other brothers I discussed that, how can we stop it? Because after all, development is required. And if you see the books on environment, they say, it's also necessary. Mining is necessary, steel is necessary for growth, copper is necessary for growth. They cannot be stopped, right? But they have to be regulated in such a manner that wealth is created, development takes place, at the same time, environment is maintained. So what we did in Goa mining, we first of all stopped it. And then said, let us find out the environmental capacity of Goa to take mining. You can't mine up to any limit, and we'll fix a limit. And how do we decide it? One is we put environmentalists there, the committee. Then we also put some forest department officers, some transport department officers, because the trucks also have to carry the mines. minerals. They should not pollute what is the carrying capacity of the roads. Right? Then what is the how much the forest can take? If you go to these mining areas, a lot of deposits on the leaves, heavily polluted. If you go to Odisha also, they are heavily polluted. Right? So that capacity was determined. I said, all right, Goa, not more than 20 million tons per annum. Otherwise, you are expecting going on. Why? This is not sustainable. 20 million tons per annum, for the time being, later on we will see. If we get reduced, we go up. Right? That's how you maintain a sustainable. That is how it should be done. But look at the compulsions. I remember in Goa mining, when I was stopping it, Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad was the opposition, then he was a lawyer. He argued, well, if you stop it, what will happen to the livelihood of so many people who are employed in mining? Transportation, mining activities, this, that activity. So you think of environment and stop it. Livelihood issues are there. In Orissa, Mr. Patra talked about, you can't imagine development that has taken place in Orissa. You know why? Because the mining revenues have gone up. By the amendment of the Regulation Act, Mining Regulation Act, the royalty have increased. Then what I had laid down in the Goa mining, that 10% of the price will be deposited to district collector, local development. Right? That has been converted to the district mineral fund in the Act by the Modi government in 2000. Result is, each district has a lot of funds in them for local development. So you are taking advantage of mining exploited resources to ensure that there is also development, there is employment, there is what we call schools, colleges, medical colleges, so on and so forth for the local people. In other words, some amount of pollution environment is there, definitely there, but it has to be sustainable. It cannot be allowed beyond a certain point. And then that money that you generate from this works, you can plow it back for distribution to the lowest class of people. This is what is happening in Odisha. That is how Mr. Navin Patnaik had to do so fast, because Navin Patnaik no more depending so much on it is very now suppressed. So suppressed. That's why without money, no development is possible. Other states are starved of funds. Odisha, I remember when I was in Odisha as a judge, Navin Patnaik called a meeting of the judges and all that, and he was saying, oh, I don't have funds. What to do? We are doing no doubt. All of a sudden changes. Because the economic conditions change, the revenue changes. This is the situation. Now, so employment, if you stop mining, employment will lose. If you want industry, you have to have employment. If you go to Jharsuguda, it has become industry, number of industries. There is JSW, there is JSPL, there is a Vedanta, a number of industries are there. And huge industries. Large number of people are employed. Chimneys are emitting a lot of what you call pollution. It's horrible condition. It cannot be controlled. So on the one side we try to ensure employment, on the other side we have pollution problems. You see Delhi, they talked about sub burning in agriculture, agricultural fields, regular emissions, construction activities, all has been pollution. Very difficult to breathe. Very difficult to breathe. But these, neither the Supreme Court is able to control, nor the NGT. That's a green term is able to control. It's just beyond them. It's not possible. Why? Because this requires political will, as you rightly said. It requires political will of the government. They are not bothered. Environment is not striking them. They are not concerned so much because they are not convinced. They think the only purpose they have is win the election, come to power. Win the election, come to power. Win the election, come to power. Today's politics, today somebody was exchanging a WhatsApp message. I said today there is no ideology amongst politicians. No ideology. All are same. Each political party and each political leader just wants to win. If it requires some undemocratic work act to be done, they do it. If it requires anything to be done, hook up group, we'll do it. Winnability is the only ambition of politics. This is the situation. I think the way forward is to convince them. There is no other way. Convince them, convince the voters also. Voters today, they want some immediate relief. They are so poor, so badly off, they want some immediate relief. But they don't understand how these like Bhopal gas tragedy spoke about, how it affected so many people. How it affected so many people. I remember I was hearing the Sterlite Industries factory in Tuticorin. Copper. So he was producing copper there. One day spoiled the entire atmosphere there, environment there. High Court heard it and closed it. You might produce it. So, and the copper was required for defense parts, all that. So we ensure that Sterlite Industries, they put a lot of appliances, they put down that, by which they can do it. And scientifically it's possible. It's possible. Monitored. Then report was given by the Central Pollution Control Board. All those reports we got. Then when they said, yes, now everything is all right, we said now it can start. Again there was a problem. Right. So these problems go on. They have to be monitored very carefully. And politicians are not yet very sensitive. It should be in the manifestos. The voters should be totally sensitive, and they should discard political parties who don't follow the green manifesto. How you do it? Very initiative proposition. But we have to fight. And when you are fighting this issue, nobody is going to argue. There will be no idea of it. Right? Right. But they think that they are doing no much job.
Yeah.
Right. But you do it. And you should do it, and we should support you as much as possible in the next elections. I must tell you, perhaps you are not aware, the Supreme Court has now given it up to monitor this. Earlier, Supreme Court used to ensure its own orders are followed. Under the Act, Environment Protection Act, Section 3 says the entire power is in the central government. Environment is in the central government. The power is in the central government. Right. Under the Act, Environment Protection Act, the power to ensure that the country has a good environment is that of the central government, not the state government. Right? So all this environmental assessment act, EPAs, right, everything. What do you call it? Environmental assessment.
Environmental impact assessment.
Impact assessment. All this is done under central government notifications. under the Act. Under Section 3, central government has the power to issue any directions, even to the state government, any authority, to ensure environmental protection. They had not appointed under the subsection 3 of Section 3 any authority. The Supreme Court was time and again saying, why are you appoint your own regulators under Section 3? I have issued direction also. Central government was not doing it. As a result, the Supreme Court was monitoring everything. Now that Supreme Court bench, environment is no longer there. And they have now issued a fresh notification in 8 December 2023. I give you copies of it. Right. By which they formed a committee. Earlier, a part committee was constituted by the Supreme Court. That was monitoring things. Now the central government has constituted its own department. With Siddhartha Das as the chairman, the best, and they have asked them to keep on monitoring to ensure wherever there are environmental issues and ensure that. They will ensure that Supreme Court orders are implemented, but also ensure the various notifications, various rules, and the Environmental Protection Act is implemented. I'll give you a copy of that. You can also use this and approach different process. So I think it's a great initiative, and I'm sure this Green Manifesto will work. Now about Panchayat, you mentioned about Panchayat. Yes, it's a Panchayat Extension Act. PESA. Under that, many references are to be made to the Gram Sabhas for local development. I remember when I was in Madhya Pradesh, Medha Patikar came to the PI, saying that a canal being done in a lot of areas in Madhya Pradesh, taking water out from Narmada. Also in areas where there is already a lot of water. Marshy area, they are requiring to take a bed down there for water. For what? Why should our land be acquired for a canal where we have plenty of water already? And she pointed out this Gram Sabha. You have to consult with the PESA and those amendments, also the amendment. So I issued notice to the government. How without consultation going there? You know what the reply was? They have already made a contract for 900 crores. And why? Just before the elections. I can make your business. These are the constitutions of the government. What to do? Bhopal decides what will happen in some interior corner in Madhya Pradesh without finding out what the answer was. The contrast you see, if you remember, the Niyamgiri Hills, where Vedanta wanted this mining. The Supreme Court said, matter went to Supreme Court said, all right, refer it to the Gram Sabhas of Niyamgiri Hills. All the 12 Gram Sabhas of Niyamgiri Hills in which I said, we don't want Niyamgiri Hills to be mined. And to start. So if the act is really giving effect to, it is not very well. The act is not given to, effect to, right? And politicians are not interested. ये काम करना है, जैसे भी करके काम करना है. Why? Because we are interested otherwise. There is a problem there. So ultimately, in a democracy, the political leaders must have that will to do. And if they don't do it, the matter goes to court. Courts must come in and make a roadblock. You can't do it. This is how it has to go. Anyway, I congratulate you for having taken good initiative. I got this manifesto. Thank you, thank you.
Well, friends, since MPs have not come, but we have two persons who are committed to this. One is Mr. Rajendra from the People's Research Center. He will speak for about 2-3 minutes. And the other is the Dean Faculty of Law, Professor Pushpa Kumar, who who's not only an expert in environmental law, but has been a very distinguished Mr. Rajendra.
थैंक यू विनोद सेठी जी। मंच पे बैठे तमाम अतिथिगण, काफ़ी वक्त हो गया है और ज़्यादातर बातें आ गई हैं। मैं 2-3 लाइन में कुछ बात करना चाहता हूँ। विकास बहुत ज़रूरी है, सब लोग स्वीकार करते हैं, लेकिन उसी विकास से हम लोग मर रहे हैं। क्या हम विकास मरने के लिए करना चाहते हैं या जिंदा रहने के लिए करना चाहते हैं? अगर हम फैक्ट्री लगा करके विकास करना चाहते हैं और उस फैक्ट्री के धुएं से हम मरेंगे तो ये कैसा विकास है? जो तकनीक विकसित किया गया है विज्ञान के माध्यम से, क्या वो तकनीक हमारे हित के लिए है, प्रकृति के लिए हित के लिए है, या प्रकृति के खिलाफ है? और जो रोजगार देने की बात कही जाती है, चाहे वो फैक्ट्री में हो या खनन में हो, जस्टिस साहब ने कहा कि पार्टी के लोग यही कहते हैं कि अगर खनन बंद होगा तो खनन में काम करने वाले लोग क्या करेंगे? लेकिन अब खनन में तो लोग हैं नहीं, खनन में तो जेसीबी है, खनन में तो मशीनें हैं जो रात दिन काम करता है। आप ऑटोमोबाइल्स जितना विकसित कर रहे हैं, ऑटोमोबाइल्स के लिए जितनी सड़कें बना रहे हैं, उस ऑटोमोबाइल इंडस्ट्री में लोग नहीं हैं, वहाँ रोबोट है। तो एक पूंजीवाद का जो पहले चेहरा था, एक नया चेहरा सामने आया है, और वह चेहरा है कि हम लोगों को फैक्ट्री में नहीं लाएंगे, मशीनों को लाएंगे, अपना जीडीपी बढ़ाएंगे और लोगों को भिखमंगा बनाएंगे। अभी पूरे देश में सरकार खुद कहती है कि 80,000 करोड़ घरों में हम राशन देते हैं। राशन देना जो है सरकार का काम नहीं है, भीख देना सरकार का काम नहीं है। जो लोग भी गरीब हैं, आपकी नीतियों की वजह से ये उनका हक है और ये सरकार पहले देती रही है। जो राशन की दुकानें होती थी वो भीख नहीं बांटती थी। हम जरूरी नहीं है कि आपको वोट दें, हम आपके खिलाफ आंदोलन करेंगे, हम आपके खिलाफ नारे लगाएंगे, लेकिन हमारा हक है भोजन करने का, वो हमको मिलना चाहिए। तो जो हक पहले था वो धीरे धीरे भीख में आ गया। और उस हिसाब से चूंकि पॉलिटिकल पार्टी के बारे में हम लोग सब जानते हैं और सब देखते हैं, आज जो लोग नहीं आए और जो आए उन्होंने अपने एजेंडा बताया कि उड़ीसा में जो ही विकास हुआ है ये मेरी वजह से हुआ है। उड़ीसा की जनता ने कुछ नहीं किया है, बीजू पटनायक की पार्टी ने आकर के जितने भी जो तूफान थे उस सबको खत्म कर दिया है। ये बिल्कुल एक किस्म से कोरा झूठ है। जो लोग जहाँ भी बाढ़ आई है, जहाँ भी आपदा हुआ है, वहाँ पे आपदा मैनेजमेंट विभाग बाद में गया है और पहले लोग गए हैं। चाहे केरल का जो तूफान हो, चाहे वो उड़ीसा का हो, कहीं भी आता है। तो विकास के बारे में पुनः सोचना चाहिए और पार्टियां तो नहीं सोचेंगी, पार्टियां नहीं सोचने वाली है, क्योंकि पार्टियों के पास अब कोई सोच नहीं रहा, सोचने का तरीका नहीं है। उनका एकमात्र है जितना 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 जो पीछे हमारे पिता ने कहा है। तो अब लोगों को सोचना पड़ेगा और लोगों के सोचने के लिए जरूरी है कि ये ग्रीन मैनिफेस्टो है, इसको सिर्फ दिल्ली, मुंबई, हैदराबाद तक हम न रखें, बल्कि नॉर्थ ईस्ट जाएं, नॉर्थ के राज्यों में जाएं, पश्चिम के राज्यों में जाएं, अलग अलग भाषाओं में लेके जाएं। क्योंकि अगर हम विविधता में भरोसा करते हैं, अगर हम बायोडाइवर्सिटी में भरोसा करते हैं, तो हमें न सिर्फ भाषाई राज्यों में जाना पड़ेगा, बल्कि अलग अलग इलाकों में जाना पड़ेगा जहाँ की विविधता है। तो मुझे लगता है कि यह कार्यक्रम आगे कैसे ले जाना है, इसके बारे में चिंता करनी चाहिए। शुक्रिया।
बहुत बढ़िया।
Now friends, the last speaker really gave the down-to-earth meaning, and now I invite Professor Pushp Kumar, the Dean Faculty of Law, the recent member of the Indian Society of International Law, and a proud and distinguished member of the Capital Foundation, Professor Pushp Kumar.
Thank you so much, sir. Such a privilege to speak in this August gathering. Much has been very rightly stated. and very clearly stated by Professor Purushottam Reddy Garu, Dr. Lakshma Reddy Garu, and Honorable Justice Patnaikji has given a very clear message, how the political system functions in the country and how the environment suffers this, and how the law and the courts are leading in defending them. So it's beautiful. Indian story, I have been teaching environmental law for the past about 25 years. And it is, I would very proudly say that the whole Indian jurisprudence, environmental jurisprudence, has been developed only with the leadership of the higher judiciary in the country. The lead, and it is because of a very handful number of judges, like Justice, who is here, who have taken the lead to appreciate the importance of environment and to hear the problems of the people. If you look at the mandate for the country to develop, in fact, in the constitutional scheme, in a democracy like India, it is the people and the people's representatives, they have to take the lead. And they have to make the laws and they have to implement. It's a government that has to take the lead. And the political parties, in fact, they are behind the government. But unfortunately, this has not happened for the past more than 75 years in the country. We are now celebrating 75 years of constitution. If you look at all my friends are here, students are here. I will tell about their initiative a little later. If you look at the whole environmental law and its development, it's only some very conscious NGOs like civil society groups like the Council for Green Revolution, Hello Citizens Welfare Forum, Indian Council for Environmental Action, Goa Foundation, Narmada Bachao Foundation, or some lawyers like MC Mehta. It is only taken up, understood, and defended by the individuals, civil society organizations, and in fact with the help of the judiciary. If at all any green or any the greenery happening or the environment protected in India, it is because of this, the judiciary and the handful number of people. Very unfortunately, we have not developed a governmental system to defend the environment. And most of these cases, Honorable Justice will agree with me. Most of the cases is against the government and their schemes. This is the unfortunate story. So I think that very timely, sir, you have come up with this initiative, and I really honestly congratulate Council for Green Revolution, Capital Foundation. Our Sethi sir is here. He is a leading light here for all of us, and his initiatives are several. Identifying the right people and encouraging them. And Sri Lakshma Reddy Garu, millions of trees. I have been associated with Council for Green Revolution for some years now, and we have been partnering with them. The law faculty, Delhi University, has been the beneficiary, and they have been planting the trees and creating earth heroes all over the country. So thankful to you, sir, and the People's Resource Center for their contribution. So nice, this is the need of the hour. We have to give this message to all the political parties, even though this is the response. The political leadership is really shying away from the real, causes or the issues. As Justice Sahab has stated, their only motive is to win the election by any means. By spending money, they can do anything. That's what they think. But I think this kind of the attitude has to change, and we should come up with, because we are living in such a knowledge, society. The knowledge and the understanding has to rule, and that has to happen. We need to share this Green Manifesto with all the political parties. And you have rightly conducted the last meeting in the Journalist Club. The journalists have to give this message to all, including the political parties, everyone like us. We need to understand. And thirdly, the youth vote, because we have to concentrate on the youth vote. In the last meeting, you have stated, sir, now in this election is going to be the deciding election, but I think that 20 million new votes, youth votes, yes, it is a new opportunity for India to reimagine itself. So the youth, you all got a new vote, now you want to decide. You cannot be purchased, I know very well. And if you are able to give this message to our youth, this country is going to be fixed. Very rightly, we have come up with this manifesto. We have to, all the youth and all of us, we have to think the quality of our life is decided by the quality of environment. If we are not taking care of our environment, whatever be our education, status, positions, richness, nothing has a meaning. That we have to understand. At the end of the day, I need one glass of water to drink only. I need good food to eat. I need a clean place to live. If I don't have whatever I acquire, it has no meaning. I think this message has to go to the people. Then we will be able to reform this country or make this country a great country. And thank you very much for giving this opportunity. And finally, before leaving, I would like to say that in the last meeting when we had the Green Manifesto program in the foreign journalists of South Asia club there in Delhi only, our 5-year law students participated, sir. They got really inspired by your work, and they have now come out with a policy brief on Green Manifesto. Yes. They have already submitted the first draft to me. I'm looking at it, and very soon, we will be submitting to you, and we also look forward to work with you, with the new beginning. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, friends, I won't tax you more. I am indeed grateful. I hope any question, Professor Gordon. He was the Prime Minister of the Hindu College, Delhi Law Faculty, Delhi University Executive Council, Academic Council, Professor Gordon.
No, I have point which I'd like some.
Yeah.
I can speak for it.
Yeah.
No, Mike.
A teacher can read 50 minutes.
Teacher is a teacher.
Well, this seminar has been very, very informative and very educational. But I have one point which Professor Pushpendra said, and I've been thinking about for a long time. You see, the point is, this is a great initiative to get this into the manifestos of the political parties. But we are all being very innocent if we think that the political parties do not know what we are talking about. They all know. It is not a matter of convincing those people. They are not interested in the environment. They are interested in how much donations the polluters of the environment are going to give to them. Fill their pocket. That is the point. So they are not going to do anything. Justice Patnaik mentioned this, the need to convince the voters. You mentioned it, sir. And you mentioned one point which has been in my mind for a long time. I'll tell you a small incident. Can I take 2 minutes? Sure. I'll tell you a small incident. I was driving down Lodi Road with my 5-year-old grandson. It was a few days before Diwali. So he suddenly said to me, I presume all of you know Hindi. He was not even 5 at the time. He said, Nana, patake nahi chalane चाहिए. So I asked him why. He said, it's pollution hota hai. I said, pollution kya hota hai? I thought if age of 4 or 5, you would not know. He said, nahi, isse hawa gandi hoti hai. So my point really is, who are the real stakeholders in the environment? It is not me, I am almost speaking. It is not most of the people on the dais and so on. The stakeholders of this whole campaign are youngsters, small children, youngsters here, who are losing years of their lives, their health, in a bad environment. one young girl, who's the name, what was the name of that girl, who was a Swedish girl? She, unfortunately, she couldn't reach very far. But the point is, she created waves by working for the environment. What I'm saying is, sir, this you could think of, instead of simply that these are steps in the right direction. I'm not saying that. But instead of only going to political parties, to older people, to villages and towns, all of these are necessary steps. But if you could campaign somehow among school children, that would revolutionize the whole idea.
But they have no votes.
No, they may not have votes, but they have a stake in this. And they can persuade, convince their parents and grandfathers, whoever they are, to act in their interest. Because one of the ironies, which I have never been able to understand, is we work all our lives for our children. We would do anything for them. We would even give our lives to save them. And yet, we ourselves are destroying their lives and whatever it is, curbing their lifespan. So I thought if this campaign could also be targeted in a huge way. They are a great big force because they are all in one place. They are enthusiastic, they are honest. If we could target them, that would win the battle, because ultimately it's not telling the political parties to include the manifesto include this thing in their manifesto, but to make them do things. That is the real challenge. So how do you make them do things? These seminars are useful, but let's go beyond that. That's all I'll say. Thank you very much.
Well, friends, thank you very much for having participated in this. I am extremely grateful to each one of the experts here on the panel. Mr. Rajendra, who drew a clear line that it is a question of development versus our own lives. Where are we heading to? And Professor Gondal rightly mentioned that it is the future generations have to be saved. Then the youth and the children must be taught at every stage what is the value of environmental protection and sustainable development. Thank you very much. We come to an end of this teaching today. Thanks a lot.